And there. See, it resets the clock after 9 seconds back down to
Oh,
4. Like cuts back 5 seconds. There must be a 5 second delay or something.
I guess so.
Hi, friends. I'm host Eric, host of Talking with Famous People. And this is my beloved sweetheart, aka wife, life partner, and soulmate, Rachel Apollosa.
Hi.
Hi, Ron Allen Salon. Um, Cameron just came over this evening, and I worked with him a little bit on some artwork for this project that Rachel and I have been ongoing working on, and scheduled another meeting with him on Tuesday. And I thought, uh, well, I'm doing all the right things to get myself to follow through, which is I'm setting a bunch of expectations that I'm going to have to publicly fail to meet if I fail to meet them. So it just occurred to me that that's third slot FE for you and TE critic. I'm making myself TE with FE, and it's working, and it will continue to work. But that's that's what you have to do. That's what ENTPs are very hesitant to do in general. Is state very clearly and publicly, I'm going to do and follow through on it, right? Because it's then all of a sudden you have lots of experiences in the past where you early on where you said you're going to do something, you failed to follow through, and so you learn pretty early on. It's you like to avoid saying what you're going to do in general. But what Rachel and I are going to do is a channel that has a very clear and clean and consistent vision, and it has it's a one concept channel, and it's basically personality pair ups, like type relations or whatever, but it's designed to be broadly appealing, hit on all the FE levels, be light and breezy and quick, be sectioned into three like easy to capitalize upon, easy to master takes. Like so, we won't be any editing of the videos, pieces of videos together. It'd just be more of an assemblage process of putting the bumper, trimming this, putting the segue, trimming this, putting a segue, trimming this, putting a bumper, and a total length of 10 minutes per video. It's designed to be to have a substantial amount of the future already done before the present begins, which is to say, uh, before I launch this thing or talk more formally about it, either I mean here I talk casually about everything, so this is what this place is. Um, or before I get too specific about any details, I I'm just following through on it. But part of how I keep myself accountable is to publicly talk about the fact that yes, I made progress on it today, or no, I didn't make progress on it today, or whatever. Um, and because I want to continue setting these expectations, this thing is in the works, in progress, developing, and that's how I know I will end up continuing to follow through on it. Because the more I continue to repeat out loud to everybody that this is moving forward. It's something I'm doing. You will see results in a couple of months or so. That the work there is work being done behind the scenes and blah 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 blah. Then then I have to do it. I have no choice because the ultimate it's the ultimate failure. It's a double failure on NI grounds and on FE grounds. It's also a failure on SE grounds, where that's the area where I most don't like to be critiqued. And NI is not about wanting things, no. That's FI. FI is about wanting, but not necessarily things. It's, more often than not, probably about wanting people and like how close you are, how much you feel attached to a given person. But also the experience of experiential like warm chest syndrome, you might call it. These physical things that happen when you feel a strong emotion that's positive towards another person.
Did you see like the butterflies in the stomach?
Well, that's more when things are new. I'm talking about
like
warm chest syndrome, meaning that you have this sort of warming sensation that's unrelated to the actual temperature in the room or whatever, but it's more of an emotional warmth or something. I don't know. It's FI stuff. Yeah, I know. That's why I know about it at all, really. Well, I know about it from Delilah too. The sense of and I guess other people too, but like my parents and stuff. But mostly, it's like I mostly don't feel my emotions strongly enough to note that physical sensation if it's a positive emotion of like attachment, love, or whatever.
Yeah. It's true.
Lee Turner says, as usual, I got a shower. Hopefully you'll still be streaming there. Well, we just started. We're only 6 minutes in.
Yeah, we just started.
And Cameron just left, and I think we both feel the need to live stream as a means of winding down before bed. So before we're done live streaming, the following things are going to happen. We will chat about stuff here, read comments and stuff for chats. I'm going to have to go poo at some point during the stream.
Oh, yes.
And then I'll come back after I poo.
I'll probably go to bed after
I come back from pooing.
Yeah.
And then I'll chat for a little while longer. And so we'll be on at least an hour. Leaf trimmer, boy.
Uh-oh. What's going on now?
Nothing. He's not doing anything. I'm just saying, boy, is he always in the middle of shit or what?
What now?
I push and push and push and push to try to figure out, like, but why? What happened to this? To this thing. And the only actual answer I get that is an answer involves the words leaf trimmer. Yes, we did see Cameron. He came over. We had a nice afternoon. We made a good amount of progress. There's part of this plan for this channel Rachel and I are making, this big project that we're working on, is to have icons to represent things like action function, have an icon showing action, right? Like the image that Cameron and I talked about was two debaters at two podiums, but also punching each other with boxing gloves.
That's good.
So that's like to show that it's action function that contains both of them. So we're working on icons to represent that. So this new channel, it's going to be, Sky Gear. That's the thing. The reason I'm talking about this right now, instead of making videos for that channel or anything for that, instead of doing anything you can see for that channel, is because I'm doing it properly. We're doing it properly. And the reason we're doing it properly is because I am actually convinced. Okay. That's the other thing, is because I'm actually completing this project, I'm not actually looking for input into it. But it is, in fact, the case that I will probably end up incorporating Cameron in some sort of on-spec basis as a like director, camera guy sort of thing, maybe.
Cool.
Or alternately use them as, incorporate them in various ways. But regardless of whatever anybody else's suggestions are or whatever good ideas anybody has, because I'm serious, I'm not entertaining ideas until I'm completed this project. Yeah, I'm serious about it.
Yeah.
And this is how you know I'm serious about it, is because I keep telling you, expect something. And I don't like to set expectations like that because it requires me to follow through. Because I'm doing it publicly, this is too much of an FE consequence for me to fail. And this is the first step of, after this thing that happens here, which is actually itself a bit of pre-work for the presidential campaign, because I have a lot of things thought out, and I know how from what spot of visibility I need to be to launch this presidential campaign effectively. This channel is essentially designed to be YouTube candy for the masses, that vaguely relates to personality types, that doesn't include any cognitive function talk, that's all non-jargon, and that's what people want. And that's also structured so that we can do a lot of work we do videos for a long time in advance in one sitting. So, like, ideally, it's going to be structured so that, and it shouldn't be a problem the way I have it envisioned here. Yeah, I am finally using it, Ron. This is somebody else's idea. Was it you suggested? I think it was somebody in a live stream who suggested it.
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't me.
It was somebody in a live stream, and I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? That's actually, it ticks all the boxes, because it provides you a formula that you can repeat plenty of times without running out of new things.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the permutations are for the types paired with each other. I don't know what that total number is, but it includes ENTP with INFJ, ENTP with ISFJ, ENTP with and then ISFJ with INFJ, ISFJ. It includes all of those pairs, right? So it's a lot of possible videos to make. With the algorithm down, I have it. The algorithm meaning my recipe. I should call it the recipe. With the recipe we're hammering out here, it should be, once we've done all the pre-work, it's going to be very easy to do any new piece of work, because it's going to be examining a new instance under the exact same frame with the same uniform icons and symbols and stuff, same limited set of non-jargony terms that we use, and the only thing that's going to change is the specifics of the thing that we're talking about, So that's our plan. That's our vision, and what we're going to do, what will be done. And we are doing it right now. And this is how I make sure that I continue to do it, is to continue to tell you about it and the progress that we're making, and set myself up to have this said to me.
CRB.
Didn't you say you were going to meow, Eric? I fucking hate that sentence more than any sentence in the world. So that's why it's not a bad idea, Sky Gear. I'll keep that in mind. Little tidbits that might help with a little bit of thing. I mean, I can't do that. It's not type police. Type police is another thing that checks a lot of those YouTube boxes, except unlike this concept, type police, to do well, takes a lot longer to do. And I will in a second. And that's that song's song. That is that show's song. This show will have its own song, which I haven't made yet. And that's one of the things that's going to have to happen before we have the final thing, It's on the list of things to do. 10 o'clock comment. Read it. Okay. Yesterday, while at work, I was reminded of a joke you said about how I interpret a handshake as a threatening fist. I laughed out loud and must have looked odd. I was laughing at myself. Yeah, well, you do seem to have that quality. Um, okay, well that's for the second thing that we're talking about, which comes after this. This project is designed to maximize subs and visibility for us, ideally getting the ad revenue and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But to get me a substantial enough amount of visibility that I can do the things I need to do once I launch the presidential campaign. In other words, I need people to interview me. I need to go on channels and talk with them about politics and stuff. Well, that is, look, Sky Gear, there's an order of operations here. So yes, absolutely, there's going to be the presidential campaign channel. And on that, it's going to be also singularly in its vision. It has nothing but politics videos and talks from me as a presidential candidate. But that I'm not even going to get into thinking about, because that's how, what Sky Gear just said right there is how you don't get things done. That's how you don't get things done. That's how you turn into an INTP. He's thinking about other possibilities. That's a trap for any NTP. You have to stop doing that if you want to get something done. And it's almost impossible for me until I make a real decision. But I have many, many times in my life, so I know this happens. I trust myself now. When I do make a real decision, there's no going back. And I can tell when I make a real decision because I do all the things I have to do to make myself follow through on that decision.
Yeah, we've already started.
It's the same thing as when I quit drinking. Once I made a real decision to quit drinking, I no longer needed Alcoholics Anonymous even, because at that point I really actually realized, oh, it's dead. I can't. It's like alcohol's like somebody who died. I'm never going to get to see them again. That's fine. And there's nothing, not fine, but there's nothing you can do about it, right? But before that, when I really made a decision to quit drinking, I did all the things I had to do to cut off all of my own outs. And that's the key thing for an ENTP to get anything accomplished. You've got to cut out all of your own get outs. And ENTPs are very creative about getting out of their own whatever with tricky wordplay or whatever. So you have to be trickier than yourself. You got to anticipate all your little verbal tricks you're going to play on yourself and cut them off at the pass ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And that is what I'm doing right now. Go shower.
Peace, BRB.
Shower the Earth's atmosphere with meteors. You know, simply Rachel's presence here and her participation in this project, it makes me have to attain on that level. Like, Rachel doesn't have to tell me when I fail. You know, it's like I can tell from her appearance, from her just, and it's not that she even gives me any look or anything. It's just Rachel and I are both so FE subtext conscious and especially aware of each other's habits in that regard and stuff that I want to achieve on a way that I know when she's watching it that she genuinely has no thoughts of you let it get away from you a little bit. I want that to happen.
I think that it will happen like that.
No, I don't need to do that. I'm doing that to myself right now. I'm basically saying, no, that might be a good idea, but I'm not entertaining new ideas right now. I'm just reinforcing this thing that I'm doing. I'm happy to now change the conversation topic to something else and talk about whatever, because I fulfilled my initial sort of TE purpose of making this video. It doesn't mean I don't want to return to my peaceful, ordinary self where I'm not worrying about TE. The good thing about TE is it has this quality of you do a step or two a day, and you have a clear understanding of which steps need to be done and which order and stuff. And if you just continue doing it day after day after day, before long it gets done, even if you don't spend a majority of your day on it.
It doesn't have to be like that, which is nice.
So so that's what I'm trying to make myself do now, and I think I'm being pretty successful at it. And so we'll see if we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I have our next appointment with Cameron on Tuesday, because Monday I have the dentist, but they're not actually doing any work. It's a consultation, so I shouldn't be in a recovery period. Does the SE and the ESTP make up for TE? Yes, sort of. A lot of things most things that one does are a piece of a larger plan, right? SE is good at doing those pieces. TE is good at figuring out which pieces to do and in which order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an appointment on Monday. Winston's mom, the reason I won't do that is because of FE stuff. I know that doctors don't like to prescribe, or dentists for that matter, like to prescribe controlled substances. And so even when I knew I wanted to get Tylenol 3, my approach with the Tylenol Vicodin made me puke, and let them introduce the idea of an alternative controlled substance. I'm sure they would have given me one anyway because I was getting so much work done, but I'm super FE intuitively on top of this particular topic. And even though there's no consequences for me, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I'm like that too.
You're right, Winston's mom. It's a good idea. It's a great idea. I should do that, but I'm FE third, and I don't want to do that.
We have enough.
We have enough. Yeah, that's the other thing is we have enough. She gets a good enough prescription that when I feel like I really need to take a half a Cloney or so, every once in a while I'll take the second half if the first half. But that's very rare for me.
We still have.
But she gets enough so that she could, in theory, take one a day, right?
Yeah.
Right, and she takes a half a day, and I don't normally ever take it. So
like the prescription is for me to take a half every day, but it's prescribed that I take it every day. The amount that is given is that I have enough for every day, one for every day.
Right.
So I have more than I
because
actually
the doctor tells her, well, take a half, and if it doesn't work, take another half.
Mm-hmm.
So
it works great, honestly. It really does.
Boba Fett, yes, and it's extremely gratifying to me. Delilah and Rachel loves Rachel, and she hated Kimberly. She tried to be nice about it, but she said in no uncertain terms, you two are no good together. She didn't exactly hate Kimberly, but she hated that I was with Kimberly. And well, I mean, she didn't like Kimberly, basically, because Kimberly didn't treat me well,
That must have been tough, like, for her to see.
Right. But it's very gratifying to me. I can just sit here and watch Rachel and Delilah interact and feel happy about it.
Oh, that's so nice.
I'm gonna go poop.
I love Delilah too, and she introduces me to like the cool kid stuff that is in now. Like I'm now 36, so I don't really know what all the trends are and who's big and
And Delilah, at this point, is practically caught up to me in terms of being a cool kid.
yeah, she really has. So it's nice.
I'd like to think that I'm still a cool kid.
You are the cool kid.
I'd like to think that I'm more of a cool kid now than I was 10 years ago. That as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at being a cool kid.
Thanks. I like to think I'm nice. No, we get along great, and she's so funny too. She's so funny. She's such a smart, funny girl. I feel honored that we get along so well.
That's why I forced Delilah to call her mommy.
Ew, how weird would that be? I'd have a kid at 14. Oh.
Delilah, you will call her mommy. Not mother, not mom.
I
mommy.
don't see that passing. What's INFJ 7 about? Did I miss this discussion? I'm an INFJ, type 7, Karma's Pimp. I like to have fun above all else. Anything to put a smile on my face, really.
It's kind of like the fiddle while Rome burns Enneagram type.
What?
It's the fiddle while Rome burns Enneagram type. If I just close my eyes and ears, I'm sure what this bad stuff will just turn out to go away on its own.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that thing? No, that's not a big deal. That's fine. It's fine. Just take some medication for it. Delilah's an ESTP. You want a courtesy flush?
Oh, I haven't started shitting yet. I haven't actually gone in the house. I'm having my pre-shit cigarette. And I had to make a cup of coffee to take with me because it's important to have coffee while you're pooping. Since coffee helps you to poop, you should drink it while you're pooping.
Yeah.
I'm just like waiting till I'm like, oh, okay, I can't wait any longer. Then I'm gonna put my cigarette out. I've got like 2 puffs before my poop.
It's so cute.
INFJ type 5 is often mistyped INTP, INTJ. I would believe that to be the case. I think that Enneagram type has a lot of impact on affect. And so it can have a lot of impact on mistypings because affect is 1/3 of the equation. Affect is you as subject. Agent is 1/3 of the equation, and object is 1/3 of the equation. So in other words, if you're a deliberator type or a knowledge type, they're still going to judge you on your affect, even though you're primarily an agent or an object, depending. Like Rachel is mostly an agent by nature, but she's going to be judged by her affect. Her affect is going to obviously be more about her tool function and the parts of herself that she reveals. Since 90% of her cognition is going on behind the scenes, versus 90% of my cognition is going on out my mouth.
Yeah.
Obviously, what you can conclude about her is much less than what you can conclude about me because my affect is much more who I am. I'm much more of a subject by nature and much less of an agent or an object.
It's true.
When you have an introverted function as your dominant function, it doesn't naturally express as subject-based affect. Can you stay for just a little while longer before you
Yeah, sure. I was gonna put it on you just because you were talking.
Okay, yeah, sorry. These all the audio space.
No worries.
And off I go to poop.
Hey, Donna Lloyd, how you doing? Enneagram type 7 is crazy balls. I honestly think that like I know type 9 smokes weed, but I think that type 7 smokes the most weed. I'm doing well, thanks. We had a really nice night here. We had some steak and asparagus and salad with Cameron, and we talked about our new upcoming project, which will deal with the type and type comparisons and relations. So it's been a nice evening, nice day. Winston's mom actually ESTJs don't like to keep stuff in the bathroom. I know my mom, at least she's type 1. But oh, did you, Donna Lloyd? Cool. That's great. I don't know if he's looked at his, sometimes he gets a little phobic about his phone. So I'll let him know. Type of relations, INTP, INFJ, there will be Death by Monkeys 419. Yeah, we're gonna start with ESTP and ISFJ. And then we're gonna move down the line. They're gonna be it'll be total of 10 minutes with 3-minute segments. We didn't pan out everything with that dude yesterday. What Eric and I came to the conclusion of what happened last night was that he had a bad day. And yeah, it was wild. The thing was that I wanted to know, like, where the flip happened. We learned that Fomalhaut was not happy that Eric didn't take his advice about leaf trimmer. And then all of a sudden, went from being a fan of Eric's to someone who didn't trust him at all. But, like, I've had my moments on here where I've gone off on people in the chat, and it's been it was super embarrassing. So we're kind of, like, letting him have it, have that. It was so fast. We're assuming he was drunk because when he called, he was like slurring and stuff. So I don't know what was going on there with Fomalhaut. I like to read when I'm on the toilet, actually. I am one of those millennials who will bring their phone into the bathroom with them. And I get a lot done, honestly. I get a lot of emails done on the toilet. not recommended, especially for tea puller. Like my phone ends up in toilets sometimes. Actually, it turns up in toilets more often now because I put my phone in my pocket and then like I'll go to pull my pants down and then boom, right into the toilet. Who's a pastor? I am a millennial. I'm born 1985. So I am a millennial, beginner millennial. And I was talking about it with Cameron and Eric, how I'm glad that I was born in the 80s because I had a childhood that was very much technological free. So I grew up from the ages of, like from kindergarten until, preschool until like, I think I got my first laptop or computer at the age of like 8 or 9. So it was nice having a childhood that was not totally mastered by technology or shaped by technology. That's cool. Yeah, 82 is millennial also, I believe. Oh, here comes Eric. How many subscribers do I need to get to interview host Eric? Art of Self Mastery, he is actually back right now. You can ask him yourself.
How many subscribers do I need to get to interview host Eric? None. You can interview me right now.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, I'm always open to be interviewed. If anybody wants to interview me about anything, I'm happy to be interviewed. And I'm also always open to be debated in theory, but I'd really rather have a discussion about something. And I'm not really always open to be debated because I've learned now that it's torture to debate scrubs. I did wash my hands, actually. How did you know? How did you know that I washed my hands?
That is some NI,
How the hell
right?
do you know that? Because I normally don't. And his pocket is wet, so he wiped his hands on his shorts. Oh, that's how you know. Oh, okay.
That's some good observation, though. I'm gonna kiss your cheek.
Thanks, darling.
Ooh.
Your hometown rappers.
I told Donna Lloyd that I'd let you know that she texted you for a session. I said that I would check your phone.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how messy the poop is. The thing is, that was a no wiper, basically. I mean, obviously, there's nothing ever less than a 2 wiper, but it was a no wiper function.
Wow, that's
Really, it's one of the special moments that you have occasionally with your butt.
Did you have a special poop too? Was it like a satisfying one or like?
Yeah, it was one of those poops that it has lots of it's made of lots of little round balls but it's all one big piece, but it's all little round balls.
Yep.
Which is like the perfect amount of hardness of poop, basically. Anyway, thanks. Thank you. I just wanted to ask you the following question. Have you ever noticed that people come up to me and ask me if I hate it when I don't know what the deal with something is? Now I want to address Karma with Pimps. Have you ever seen modern day debates, Eric? No, probably not. But again, as I will repeat for people in general, I am a professional debate coach with a long history in the competition debate community. Competition debaters and competition debate is a very different kind of creature than internet debate. Some internet debaters are former competition debaters, like Ben Shapiro, some are not, and it's pretty easy for me to tell the difference right away.
Thank you, Art of Self Mastery. He's the best.
Yeah, thank you very much, Art of Self Mastery. I appreciate it. The thing is, like as a debate coach, it's hard for me to. It's like, well, it's not exactly hard, but I don't want to pretend that I'm debating somebody, really, because all I'm really doing is having a need to explain to them what their arguments are and what they need to do for that argument to be successful. Like, okay, so if you are arguing that, then you need to have this kind of framework and you need to have an impact like this, otherwise it's not going to work. And they don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. And it's just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why is the word debate being used by these people? That's perfectly socially acceptable, Art of Self-Mastery. If you're willing to interview me, that would be wonderful. I love being interviewed. If you want to interview me, I will end this stream and you can interview me right now if you want to. But I'm sure you don't want to. I will also schedule an interview. If you want to tell me a time and day and time to interview me about whatever you want to interview me about, I will be happy to put it on my calendar. If you're saying you want to interview me, but you actually want to ambush me with a bunch of bullshit, then that's fine too, but just tell me in advance rather than I won't be surprised anymore. You don't sound like you're trying to ambush me with a bunch of bullshit, but that's fine. If you want to debate about a topic, if you want to challenge me about a topic, interview me, ask me any question, I'll answer all your questions directly. I won't avoid any questions. Okay, my beautiful, wonderful, beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, wonderful, beautiful darling.
My handsomeness. I'll see you in bed in a little, or whenever.
Whenever, yeah, I'll see you soon.
Okay,
I love you. Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh, he loves me, I love you. Therefore, vicariously, he loves you, Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh. Pretty good lyrics for that one. You challenged me to a duel. What kind of duel? Well, choose your weapon. What weapon would you like to duel me with? If it's something like down pillows, potentially I'd be willing to have that duel. If it's something like knives or guns, then no. I probably would lose the duel. If you'd like to duel by each playing the banjo, if you'd like to have dueling banjos, it's hard to say whether I'd win or lose. I have to see how good of a banjo player you are. I'm not a very good banjo player, but I'm better than somebody who's never played the banjo before. I read what you said, Winston's mom. I saw it the first time. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just didn't read it out loud. Eric, if you had your life together a bit more, you'd be the dad playing the guitar next to the campfire, putting unreasonable expectations on your kids, driving a Volvo, teaching typology at university. Next weekend on Sunday? Yeah, sure. Let me get my calendar open. You're talking about Sunday the 14th or Sunday the 7th? Thank you, Art of Self Mastery. Sunday the 14th is, Sunday the 14th is fine. It's just the only thing I have on the schedule currently is from 2 to 3 p.m. my time. So if you want to tell me a different a time that's not 2 to 3 p.m. my time on Sunday the 14th, I'll put it on my calendar right now, and then it's guaranteed to happen. Or it's guaranteed these things can be in life, you know, because I very, very rarely miss anything that's on my calendar. You want to duel with a banjo? I don't currently have a banjo. Can we have dueling air banjo? What's my time zone? Los Angeles, Pacific Standard Time. I'm in Los Angeles. That's kind of a good way to put it, Winston's mom. Maybe I didn't really do all the legwork to retire, but I'm semi-retired, I guess. But the thing is, it's weird for me to say that because from my perspective, I was retired when I was working 60 hours a week. And now I'm beginning to do actual work. So it's like, I don't know. I have different perspectives on things than most people do. It's like when I was a debate coach who had big programs, juggernaut programs, were rolling there with like dozens of kids and a couple of assistant coaches following behind me. It was gratifying on an NETI level, and it was gratifying on an FE level. But it ultimately tore my soul to shreds with all of the administrative shit that I had to do. I loved being the head coach of a big squad and stuff. I hated being the director of the school where I had to keep on top of teachers, make sure they, you know, somebody called me fucking 45 minutes before their class. Oh, I can't make it. And then I got to fucking scramble to either find somebody or cover the class myself. And I hated all that admin shit. I didn't really like making the curriculum. It was a huge project, but at least it was creative and I had free reign. Sure, it was a lot of TE itself. Making lessons plans is the ultimate conversion from both ends plus TI to TESE. You know, it's like, and I made so much curriculum at that job. Because, you know, I was sitting there 9 to 5. I had like 4 hours of classes to teach a day. So I was supposed to be there like 9 to 5. And then I had my afternoon classes, which was 4 to 6. I was supposed to be there 9 to the end of my last class. Officially 9 to 5, but it was really 9 to 8:30 because we had class from 4 to 6 and then from 6:30 to 8:30. But that wasn't every day. So there was a couple of days I didn't have class in the afternoon. So then I just go home at 5, right? 5 p.m. my time is fine. I'll put it on my calendar right now. Sunday the 17th. No, Sunday the 14th, sorry, at 5 p.m. Perfect. I'm excited. I love being asked questions. Oh, wait, I put my own name. Don't worry, I'm scheduled for myself for Sunday the 14th, 5 o'clock. Well, art of self-mastery, here's the thing. A lot of people say that, and it's probably true, but there's a larger TE frame that you may or may not be up to date on here, which is namely, I finally made, after a long time, an executive decision about what to do. And this is after a lot of musing. And the bottom line is this. I'm starting 2 new channels. This channel will remain what it is. It's never going to be anything but what it is. And the reason why it's never going to be anything but what it is is because the channel is a compilation of everything that's produced. Even if I were to try to change what it is now, it's still comprised mostly of what's come before, because I have so many videos, right? I've got over 5,000, probably close to 6,000 now. Well, Art of Self-Mastery, I'm currently in the middle of a project that's past the stage of consultation that you're providing. So, in other words, the current project I'm working on is attempting to provide a channel that hits on NI, TE, SE grounds, and is designed maximally to succeed in terms of breadth of appeal and popularity or number of subs and stuff. And so on that channel, I will be, as this process continues, I'm about a week into it. There's going to be a couple months of pre-work, I've determined. It's quite, maybe not. I'm saying a couple months, that's being conservative. So hopefully I can beat that. But there's a lot of pre-work that goes into launching a channel before you launch one, if you want to do it right. So, and that's what this channel are going to make, basically, is going to attempt to do. So while this channel is absolutely necessary for my mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, I need to do live stream. I said it after Cameron left today. I was about to start watching some anime. I couldn't pay attention to it all. I said, I need to live stream. It's like, I'm not okay if I don't have an hour or two a day in general to talk out what I'm thinking about and what's going on with me and stuff. And that's what live stream lets me do. But that's what this channel will always be. It's never this channel, Talking with Famous People, is never going to be anything but Eric's pile of Eric. And so in order to accomplish these TE things that people see from me, and I respect and I appreciate the fact that you're saying, gosh, Eric, if you could just, you could be so much more successful. Well, I'm in the process of trying to do that right now, but it's going to be, necessarily it's going to have to be a different channel. And Rachel and I are going to make it, it's about, and it's a perfect concept, because there's a certain checklist if you want to have a successful YouTube plan. And that checklist is, you need a single concept that you can plug different instances into and repeat as a recipe over and over and over again, that doesn't get super stale or you run out of shit to do. This idea that Rachel and I have for the inner type thing, doing each type in succession in a very broad, non-jargony way designed to appeal to any casual person who's heard of MBTI and not challenge their intellects at all. That's what this channel is going to be, that we're currently working on. I got Cameron over involved too. I got an appointment on Tuesday to continue working on it. So it's a serious project. It's not just this is what's happened. I went through a long stretch of time until about February where I was trying to figure out what the NI whole that I needed to embrace in order to figure out exactly, in order to start TEing, basically. Well, I got that down. And my basic NI reality that I had was this. To successfully launch the presidential site, I need to have somewhat more visibility than I currently have. I can easily do that because I fully believe that if I choose to apply myself towards outcomes only in this channel making process, that my TE is actually pretty fucking damn good about this kind of stuff. Like I did create the entire program architecture for the debate school, and it was almost all TE, So the thing is, I don't like it, but I can do it. Oh yeah, that channel's not going to do any live streaming. There's not going to be any live streaming on that channel. That channel is going to be exactly what it is and nothing else. And it'll consistently be what it is across months and years according to a specific schedule and never be anything else. And it'll be a long ass time till we run out of possible combinations because there's so many. So it's a perfect vision, and it makes sense with my presidential campaign launching notions, and it's the order of operations reality I needed before everything kicked into gear. Now things are moving, and every day I make some progress on it. Not yesterday because I was going to, and then FOMO showed up, and there went the evening, but so there were a lot of possible permutations of how I wanted to go about kicking into go gear. I make the final decision, and I know that happens once I start telling everybody expect stuff, right? But then it's still a matter of I have to have clarity of the vision before I can really start kicking into follow through mode. And now I feel like I have it. I've committed to this specific thing. I like the fact that it includes Rachel a lot, because 136 possible combinations, perfect. So does that include INFJ? Does it include identical? Later days, art of self-mastery. Don't forget though, self-mastery is not just an art, it's also a science. Wisdom. Was it wisdom? Or was it just Memorex? Well, that's part of why it's such a wisdom-y thing to say. It's because it's enigmatic like that. Okay, I've got my wisdom test here. I want you to say truths. I will measure their level of enigmaticism, and the most enigmatic person is the wisest. You'll never know if you don't first try to think and believe. What? How do you like that analogy? Using TE6 is like going outside in sub-zero temperatures without your jacket. No problem, but you want to go back inside pretty quick. It's fantastic. That's what I think about it. Right. It's not a problem. It just sucks ass. It's just a thing I have to force myself to do and structure things to make myself do. This is how I do it. I set public expectations. So then the consequence is the consequence is too bad for me to incur. The FE consequence. So, okay, it seems like once again, David Sanderson is recommending some debater to me. Well, good for him. But so Dave Sanders says, I actually think I'm actually on a destiny bench, and I personally think he's a pretty smart guy to learn from. His debates are less about telling you what to think and more about the process required to think properly. Well, that's a good thing. If you listen to him, you'll have a pretty good idea about what debate should be. I don't need to listen to him to know that. He is less adversarial, but has a lot of debate experience. Less adversarial than whom, and really seems to know his stuff. Well, maybe he does, but I'm not looking for a teacher. I hate to teams that in about 1/10 of his videos, he's admit to being wrong with something. He isn't an ideologue. He criticizes other people on the left. Like, was he considered to be on the left? Like Kyle Kulinski, pretty hard, so no mercy. That's good. Oh, you were telling Sky Gear to check out this thing. Oh, Derek, you said you and Rachel were discussing cottages. Oh, cool. I'll check it out. Because what we were noting is that the thing that makes cottage houses look like cottages is the pointy part of the roof that comes off the side. Like the cottages have a little dip in it, makes their roof look more round, and like that's, and also the kind of shingles. Like that's the main two things that make cottage look different from a house. I think is the pointiness of the roof angles is very important. This is the well, I mean, anybody who purports to be a voice of the left or the right is part of the problem. And that's simple fact. You know, everybody's insistence that they know where on the political spectrum I fall is a category error. I understand politics as matters of policy decision making, not agenda execution. And if you're insistent on placing me somewhere in the left-right spectrum, then you too have made the mistake of thinking agenda execution is what you should be paying attention to rather than the specific policy question in front of you. So on those stupid tests, I'm like, do you believe that individuals have the right to Okay, let's say that. Do you believe individuals have the right to And you put yes, they add a point over here, and you point a point over there. I'd say I believe that's not a policy question. That's what I believe. I believe that's not a policy question. That's what I won't do. I will not take any political compass test. Here's why. Let me explain to you what's wrong with all these fucking questions. I can't answer any of them. And I'll tell you exactly why I can't answer any of them. Because I'm a smart person. That's why. If economic globalism is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. Strongly disagree, agree, disagree, or strongly agree. Whereas that's not a policy question. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. That's not contextually specific enough for me to answer. In other words, I would support my country in its wrongness in some circumstances, and I wouldn't in others. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Well, I don't think it's foolish to be proud of your country of birth, but I also don't think that has anything to do with the first clause there. So I have no answer. None of your bubbles work for me. Our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. I agree. Human race is superior to animals in many ways. Oh, wait. That's a stupid question. It's a category error. It's saying unicorns are better than Pegasus. Agree or disagree? Fuck off. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It entirely depends. Can you give me a specific situation in which you're talking about that? Let's frame it as a foreign policy issue. If, in fact, the PRC helps us to dismantle the DPRK, are they functioning as an ally in that context? Absolutely. But does that render them my friend permanently? No. Is this question meaningful? Is this a question a smart person is willing to answer? No. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. This is a much better question than the other one. I would say that the idea that you could do anything other than agree or disagree with that, though, is obviously insane. You can either strongly or weakly agree or disagree with that. It's binary. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Are you willing to affirm that statement or negate it? That's it. There's no spectrum to it. There's not a question yet that a smart person would answer. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. This, I mean, it's asking you, so tell me, what's your NI bullshit? I don't have NI bullshit. I'm above NI bullshit. So far, I've been unable to answer any of those questions. Why? Because my answer to it is, get that test maker over here for a scolding right now. That's my answer to all the questions. Get that test maker over here and bend him over my knee because I need to spank the living fuck out of this guy. That is not how you think, mister. You're part of the problem. I'll tell you who the enemy is. People who want and insist to understand politics as making sure the right box wins. That's fucking wrong. Making sure we described you in the right box. I'm in the box that says I evaluate policy questions according to their merits. That seems the obvious number one answer for everybody. How is it that I'm the only one saying that? Right? How is it that I'm the only one saying that? My political position is I evaluate each policy question on its merits instead of try to execute an agenda that I have ahead of time. Why isn't everybody saying that? It seems so obvious. Oh, now that I'm a grown-up, I have to act like an adult. So obviously, my answer to those questions is I evaluate each policy question on its merits. No policy question occurs in a vacuum. Each has contextual mitigating factors. I mean, seriously, have you ever heard anybody else say that? Are you conservative, liberal, whatever? Oh, I just evaluate each policy question on its own merits. Have you ever heard anybody else say that? When it seems baffling, because to me, it's incredibly obvious that that's the only way that adults would bother to talk about politics. You know, how good are you at evaluating and correctly determining specific policy questions as they actually occur? What are your actual policy prescriptions given the current status quo, and why? What are your justifications? And then evaluate that person's advocacy on its merits as well. Why can't we do that? Well, because that makes way too much fucking sense. Because people who don't want to do the real work of being an adult want to find someone to blame instead. That's why. Well, the part about how an ENTP follows through is I sort of gave a report on the progress I'd made on the project I've been talking about, and set more expectations about, informing everybody. I got another meeting with Cameron on Tuesday. I got stuff to do tomorrow as well. And in other words, setting expectations, setting myself up to be subject to scorn that goes like this. Eric, didn't you say you were gonna meow 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 meow? Wasn't you making a big deal about that a month ago? Now, where happened to that? My worst nightmare is to incur that. So I set myself up so that if I don't finish this, I will incur that. Since that's my worst nightmare, I already know there's no way I'm gonna let that happen. I cannot allow that FE sword to stab into my chest. So I put myself in a position where it's do or die, It's the only way to get myself to follow through on things. Oliver Linehan, I totally misunderstood. I thought you were an anti-anarcho, esoteric, homo-fascist, transhumanist. God, I had you totally wrong. Vote for Eric because every other candidate will ideology test you. Vote for Eric because I want to represent you even if you don't vote for Eric. Vote for Eric because he wants to make good, smart policy decisions based on their merits rather than participating in this childish brawl. If you like woke, I'm as woke as they get, which means your bullshit is going to receive just as thorough, dismissive, contemptuous thrashing as everybody else's. That's what it means to be woke. It means I'm subject to being thrashed just the same way that you are for the same exact reasons. And it's all universal. Why should you be thrashed? Because you're wrong. Good news. After you're done being thrashed, it's not you that was thrashed. It was your dumb, wrong idea. If you continually produce and claim to dumb, wrong ideas, then you are not just wrong, you are dumb. And you deserve to be thrashed. Because this is the citizen democracy we're talking about. I don't want to elect a pig and a donkey and a fucking chicken and a 3-year-old to run the country. You got no business even involving yourself in thinking about politics if you're unwilling to do so like a grown-up. So stop. Yeah, here's the deal. Vote for host Eric because even when you vote for me and give me a shit ton of money, if you're wrong, I will spank your ass. Vote for host Eric because even if you hate on me and shit on me and try to harm me and be as spiteful as possible to me, when you're right, I'll concede it and go with what you say. So yeah, that's why you should vote for me, because the thing that you're so rabid about, I'm going to scold the shit out of you about, but I'm going to do the same thing to your enemies. Right, exactly. Hold nothing back. There's one lesson, one big lesson from Trump that's to be taken advantage of by everybody or to be learned from, and that should give everybody hope that I'm actually going to win the presidency. Action is incredibly powerful, and uncrafted political talk is even like Trump was not bullshitting. He was TI polar, but he wasn't bullshitting. He was the first person, he was the only person who wasn't providing for the people an attempt at crafted bullshit. And so it's like, if all you have is a plate that has an overcooked piece of bacon that looks like it's been sitting there for 2 hours, and then turd, you're going to pick the bacon, right? Because at least it's not shit. Right. He wasn't attempting to put on a dog and pony show. He was just himself. And it's like, personally, I found that self totally unattractive. But at least it was not a dog and pony show. I can see that. I acknowledge that, right? He wasn't saying, how can I fool the American people into voting for me? Like everybody else does. Well, I'm not either. I'm not saying that. I genuinely believe they should vote for me. And I'm very certain I can win all the arguments. And I'm also certain that that anybody can see that I'm not providing you fucking contrived caricatures of reality in order to, I'm not providing you the public face Eric. This Eric is exactly the same Eric that you always have. There is no private face Eric. This is Eric. That's all you get. Well, Aeon G, if I am getting misrepresented by other media sources, if I'm getting attacked, I've made a lot of progress. A lot of progress. If I'm getting attacked by various people who aren't just like, spite monkeys, like fucking, what's the name? Queen's Gambit or something. If I'm getting attacked by like real journalists and stuff, then I've won the election. It's over. I've won. Because unlike most political candidates who try to construct and limit and manage their speaking opportunities, I want to talk to anyone and everyone who will listen to me about it. All day, every day. I want to answer all your questions. I don't need a handler, right? I'm not worried about saying the wrong thing. I'm not worried about you learning what I really am. I'm not worried about, someone's going to reveal that I'm actually not very knowledgeable and don't really know what I'm doing. That they're going to ask me some question, and I'll reveal that I wasn't quite aware that there were two separate halves of the legislature or something. Like some idiotic, like civic, D- civic student kind of shit. A lot of politicians, they worry somewhat about every time they give people actual access to them. They want to limit the real access that people have as much as possible. In other words, those debates that they do and stuff, they want to have a lot of control over what questions are asked. I don't want to have any control over what questions are asked. I want you to ask me whatever questions, the hardest questions you want to ask. You ask me all your hardest fucking questions. I will answer them all. Even if you're not asking, I will still answer them. If there was a bill to pass my desk that expanded existing access to abortion, I would veto it on the grounds that the federal government has no business with the issue of abortion, that the right to privacy is a legal construct that destroys the meaning of right if taken seriously, and that's a legal justification for Roe v. Wade, and it doesn't cascade down. So the federal government has, in my opinion, no legitimate voice in the matter whatsoever. So I'd veto, I guess, any abortion bill that passes my desk. Now, if you want to say, what about a bill that made abortion illegal or something? Well, that would be struck down by the Supreme Court. The current Supreme Court ruling is what's wrong. Roe v. Wade is wrong. Note this. You may very well say abortion should be legal. It doesn't matter if I agree with you or not about that. Roe v. Wade is a wrong decision because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not a right to privacy. And see, this is the sort of thing that we need to talk about. So it's like somebody wants to come from the pro-choice side and say, are you pro-choice or pro-life? I can tell them I'll veto abortion bills, most abortion bills I can conceive of right now. I can't imagine every possible bill that the legislature might send my way, right? But I can tell you right now that as a general matter of principle, unless that bill tries to distance the federal government from authority over that matter, then I'm very likely to veto it because of my objections to Roe v. Wade, the reasoning for it, and therefore, if you want me to pass a bill and it's reliant on the reasoning of Roe v. Wade, I'm going to veto it and direct my attention towards impacting case law one way or the other. Either having the Supreme Court write a decision that makes sense or striking down Roe v. Wade. Remember, striking down Roe v. Wade doesn't make abortion illegal. It leaves it up to the states. So when I say I would like to see Roe v. Wade struck down, that doesn't mean I would like to see all abortions be illegal at all. Or even, it doesn't mean I would like to see more abortions be illegal. It doesn't even mean that I would like the states to have more power over it. It simply means that's the correct constitutionalist position and legal position and logical position. So that's just fact. So the thing is, when people want to ask me whether I'm pro-choice or pro-life and I'm running for president, the question is totally fucking irrelevant. You know? My behavior is not going to be predicated on my agenda. That you're asking me, what's your agenda regarding this? That's not how I fucking operate. You know, the president has a job to do, and we've conflated that president's job into representing our ideology or representing the other guy's ideology. He has an actual job to do. You know, it's like, why is it that we don't ever talk about the specific things that his job actually entails, but rather it's like we have framework and case level backwards. Can any type be in any party? Yeah, I don't think so. Does your Bible deal with this topic? It may come up in the debates if it does. My Bible? With which topic? The topic of abortion? Again, irrelevant. The United States has a long procedural standard and even language that the Supreme Court references in case law to separate church and state. Now, that's not, there's no official rule or anything that says church and state should be separated. It's the interpretation of a couple of other things in the Constitution that imply that. Okay, so regardless of my religious beliefs, I promise you I won't let them influence my work as president. In other words, I will never justify any decision with any religious justification. How are you going to deal with all the questions about race? You're going to win all those arguments. That's how. I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn like the debate coach I am. The best way to win any argument, when it's possible, is to turn the opponent's arguments. That is to say, use their arguments against them and turn their offense against you into offense against them. It's the best way to deal with that shit. So when someone comes at me for not being left enough, I come at them for not being left enough. And I in other words, I put all of the goodness and truth arguments under their frame label. Because remember, this is the advantage I have. I'm not handicapped by being dumb like that. I don't care about your fucking frame label. So, but they do. They're attached to it. So when you successfully put your things under their frame label and their things under the evil frame label, they lose because they're attached to their frame label, not to the actual thing. In other words, I don't have to convince you that my transracial identity isn't conservative. I have to convince you that your disrespect for my transracial identity is way too fascist. Concurrently, I don't have to convince you that my favoring a more environmental scope of law and stuff than a strict constitutionalist, for example, would. I believe the federal government should have should be active in environmental stuff, but concurrently to minimize instances where it's impacting individuals. So what I don't like is shit like Joe goes home from his job one day to his ranch in fucking, Wyoming or whatever, his little miniature ranch he's got. He really has a regular job, not a rancher, but he lives in Wyoming. He's got kind of nice people. And he discovers EPA people at his house going, you can't go in your backyard anymore because there's special endangered newt back there. I want to minimize or eliminate instances of shit like that. I want to minimize and eliminate instances of shit like what happened in California, where you have these plant quarantines to prevent the spread of this or that plant disease or bug that ends up doing things like making it legally impossible for a nursery in a certain area to move anything in or out, including by sale, even if it's not the plant that's infected. So they are on, like this was happening before COVID. They were on plant freak out COVID lockdown in nurseries would go out of business because they were have thriving business. Then the state of California would find a plant with a spot on it, and the nursery would be in limbo until they went out of business. So I want to eliminate that kind of stupid shit in the federal government. To the extent the federal government does that, I don't like that at all. Okay, but I very much like preserving large spaces of land, national parks, not state parks is not a state, it's a federal job, but and being very careful with mining and grazing rights, which is going to alienate me from some rural constituents. But I want to look carefully at that and figure out what we can do to both preserve the traditional approach that these kind of more rural areas of America have taken, while concurrently gradually increasing sort of an environmental protection of some of those areas that we're letting grazing happening on. So I've got a lot of thoughts about that, right? But if you are on the right, I need to convince you that my environmental positions are more conservative than your non-environmental positions, and that I'm winning under your label. That's the way to do it. Because if, in fact, the person's married to their label, it works. If they're not married to their label, then they're not critiquing me like that in the first place. So you see what I'm saying? It's called turning. You turn the thing that's your biggest problem into your enemy's biggest problem, quote unquote. My enemy is anybody who is too attached to partisan bullshit to be a grown-up and vote for me and talk with me. The person's not an enemy. It's the fog of childhood. The fog of political childhood is my enemy. Would I let trans people in the military? Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I'm trying to think of a reason why you wouldn't. What's the reason not to? Is there somebody who's saying you shouldn't let trans people into the military? I mean, look, I don't think people are let into the military, right? They go and they say, I want to be in the military. And then the military decides if they meet the qualifications that they set. They have tests they have to take, I think. And if you don't pass all those qualifications, then you're not qualified to be in the military. If you do pass all those qualifications, then they say, okay, we want you as if you pass qualifications up to meow, we want you as a grunt. If we pass qualifications up to meow, we want you as I don't know, like a tank driver or something. I don't know exactly how the military works like that, but something I have to study up on a little bit, I guess. But I'm not sure why you wouldn't want trans people in the military. I mean, like, I don't understand what the argument would be. What do I think of alimony and common law marriage? They're non-federal issues. Those are totally state issues. Nothing to do with the federal government at all. And so, like, that's the sort of thing, that's how I'm going to win the election. But I want to know. I know. And the fact that you want to know that means you're trying to do an ideology test of me. I don't roll like that, and you shouldn't either. I didn't make any animal rights argument. What I said about abortion was that as president, if an abortion bill were to pass my desk, I would land on my desk. I'd veto it because I don't think the federal government has any voice in the matter of abortion, and that the justification the Supreme Court gave that basically afforded the federal government jurisdiction over the matter at all is it makes zero sense. The reasoning of Roe versus Wade doesn't make any sense. So regardless, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a federal consideration, and that either the Supreme Court needs to write a decision that does make sense or overturn Roe v. Wade. Please remember everybody, overturning Roe v. Wade doesn't make abortion illegal or legal. It means your state has more decision-making power over what they want to do with their laws, what you guys want to do with your laws as a state. You might feel like, but that lets some people in my state win this issue that's very important to me. Well, you have the opportunity to move to another state. And that means you will also have the opportunity to have even more liberal abortion laws in some other state than are currently allowed federally. So it's you're gonna have a half a loaf, and that's all you get. If you care so much about how it impacts you directly, But the thing is, the reality is this. You're using it as an ideology test, and that's the problem. It doesn't matter whether I'm pro-life or pro-choice. My job as president is to do my job as president. And the fact is, since the Supreme Court has written a justification for federal oversight of abortion that makes no sense, I cannot successfully execute it. As the executive, things have to make sense. I've been told what to execute. These are the laws I'm supposed to execute as the executive. If it makes no sense, I can't execute it because I have to understand it. And the problem's not me and my failure to understand. The problem is the reasoning is a heaping pile of shit. Leaf trimmer, while I absolutely support in the military that anybody, there's no reason to exclude somebody from, if they want to join the military and pass the tests and everything, from getting into the military because they're trans, quote unquote. But I also would be totally in favor of clarifying the military's position on pronoun usage as follows: that every member of the military deserves respect and deserves to be called by the name they say their name is. So if you think I'm a dude, but I'm transgendered and I call myself Sally, the rule in the military should be, yes, you have to call that person Sally, because that's their name and that's what they say their name is. And also that every military person should feel honor bound to use pronouns consistent with how they perceive that person, because that's the only just way to do it. So I call that lady who was in that Rand Paul video of Gen Xials a lady, and I refer to her as her because that's how I perceived her. And just hearing that she's transgender doesn't change my perception of her. I perceived her as a she. If on the other hand, Tiffany, my tech guy, who I knew before he transitioned, and I perceived as a dude. So I called him Tiffany when he changed his name, but I refused to change my pronouns because I still perceived him as a dude. So in other words, I expect our military members to be people of honor and honesty. And so if we're going to have a policy on it all, I want the policy to stress that our military people are strongly discouraged from lying. And if they perceive that person as a she, they should use she. If they perceive that person as a he, they should use he. And it would be wrong of us to even encourage another person to misrepresent their own perceptions, since pronouns express your own perceptions, not the other person's identity. Leaf trimmer, I find it offensive that you would belittle somebody who hypothetically has expressed an interest in joining the military, taken the test, passed them, joined the military, and finds himself in a combat zone with bullets flying, possibly dies in that combat, and you're going to deride them because you assume they're going to not perform well because they're transgender. They're a hell of a lot more patriotic than you. No, I don't mean Tiffany, my tech girl. I mean Tiffany, my tech guy. Because I don't perceive him as a woman. But that lady in Congress the other day, I didn't find out till after when I first saw her, I just thought she was a lady who looked kind of mannish, you know? And somebody informing me of the status that she's transgender doesn't change my perceptions of her. I still see her as a lady. It basically has to do with my initial perception. If I look at you and go, oh, that dude's like, I think transitioning, then you're a dude as far as I'm concerned, whether you transition or not. If you successfully fool me and I think you're a chick, then you're a chick. Leaf trimmer, When you find yourself saying things like this, men bully each other, locker room talk, this is unavoidable. In other words, when you say, look, the evils I'm talking about are unavoidable anyway. You know you're full of shit. I don't plan to tacitly encourage or tolerate or turn a blind eye to things that are bad and wrong and evil. So no, it's not okay that, well, men bully each other. Locker room. Well, fuck bullying each other. That's not okay. Locker room talk, fine. If somebody, let's say there's an individual who's a male who comes out from his regiment and says to his commanding officer, I don't like all the body jokes my fellow soldiers are making. They make a lot of jokes about vaginas and stuff. And I'm a Christian and I don't like it. As commander-in-chief, I say, too fucking bad, Christians. Stop being a little bitch. If a transgender person comes out and says they're making a lot of body jokes and I don't like it about vaginas, are they making them to you or at you or about you? No. Don't be a little bitch. Get back in there. What the fuck? Your feelings can suck my dick. Right? See what it means when you treat everybody the same and when you're smart and don't do groupist bullshit. You treat everybody the same. High five. I mean, okay, look, as president, I will go into the office with over 10,000 pages of federal tax code on the books already. Okay? So the issue is not what agenda label should we understand taxation through. It is rather, what is going to be your approach to taxation when bills cross your desk to be either signed or vetoed, Eric? Or do you have a legislative agenda that you'd like to encourage Congress to undertake regarding taxation? And I can answer both those questions, no problem. My legislative agenda that I'd like to push on to Congress as far as taxation changes is I'd like to completely eliminate the capital gains tax. But I'll take what I can get, you know? I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatist. I'm not worried about whether taxation is theft or not because I'm actually going to try to do a job rather than stand someplace with signs proclaiming my agenda. So if you want to know, is my legislative agenda consistent with your frame of reference? Actually, it is, in the sense that my only taxation legislative agenda is to eliminate capital gains taxes. If you ask me what's my policy on tax bills that pass my desk, I would say, read my lips, no new taxes. Okay. I guarantee it, except via my overridden veto. Guarantee it. Promise you. There is no bill that has a net increase in. I mean, look. I'm not gonna let taxation get any more regressive, really, than it is. No, progressive taxation is the most regressive form of taxation there is, because it will always be the case that the more money you have, the more capable you are of paying fewer taxes than you're supposed to, per se. Additionally, progressive taxation makes it such that huge amounts of wealth that would otherwise do real work in the economy in some way or another get subject to the friction loss of government spending. Now, if government were to take that taxation and simply hand it right back to the people, split it evenly in checks, then almost all that friction loss would disappear, and you still have the redistributionist effect. Now, whether or not it's theft, you're saying any taxation and redistribution plan is evil. Well, again, we're not voting for who defines the new paradigm. We're voting for a person who's going to do a job. Well, Scott Steiner, one of my additional goals is to limit the scope of executive orders. So I have a stated explicit plan as a president to use executive orders to get the courts to limit the scope of executive power via executive order. The president is not a king. The president is not a dictator. The president does not have unilateral decree power. You know? Pay off the debt is fine, but the reality is we just simply can't do that right now. Talk to me practically any other election besides 2024, and I'm with you on paying off the debt. But like at this point, we can barely service it, let alone pay it off. So, and that's including big cuts that are coming. People are silly if they don't think that another shoe will ever drop on these COVID bills. Oh, yes, it will. That debt does need to be serviced still. And now we have a bunch more of it. And we already have all the revenues, most of it earmarked for this or that or the other thing. The discretionary amount is very small. And even that is really ought to be I doubt there's going to be anything like that now with COVID, with massive reductions in tax revenues and massive just sort of shifting of ground in the economy and stuff. It's I think it's basically too ambitious a vision for the president to push through no matter what Congress he's got, and for sort of good reason. It's like there is a matter of timing regarding resource usage that matters, and I don't necessarily agree that paying down the debt right now is the best thing to do. Obviously, we have to service it, but you know what they say? I don't want to wait for COVID to be over before I pay that debt down. But I just might have to. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for COVID to be over before I go into a store and don't have to repeat myself because I'm wearing a mask. Okay, an hour and 49 minutes. That's pretty good. That's close to 2 hours. Sky Gear, you're imagining that there's a need of some sort that just doesn't exist. I I am fully ripe. There's no additional time on the tree needed, no additional nutrients in the soil needed, no additional water. I'm fully ripe. Well, Scott Steiner, the thing is, the president has a job to do, and it may include curtailing excessive activities of certain bureaus and such that fall under the supervision of the executive branch. But obviously nobody likes injustice, okay? And it is indisputable that the IRS is responsible for some instances of substantial injustice. And I would like to see that stop entirely. I oppose all forms of substantial injustice. It's like you might say, "Well, taxation itself is substantial," but what you're saying there, Scott Steiner, about IRS agents attempting to extort money from businesses, if I don't doubt that there's some cases where that's appropriate language to use, that is in fact occurring. I don't doubt that there's a lot of abuse of power in the IRS because of the fact that it's discretionary. In other words, the IRS decides who they're going to investigate based on their own discretion. It makes for a fundamentally corrupt approach to things, because anytime you have a lot of discretion and something that equates to law enforcement, which the IRS kind of does, then obviously the enforcement of that law is going to be representative of somewhat of the individuals who are enforcing it rather than the law itself. And so that's why drug laws make people complain that drug laws are racist. Drug laws aren't racist, and cops aren't racist. Drugs laws are discretionary, and cops are human. And so what that means is some cops are racist. What it also means is that some existing realities of our society, namely that poor areas with higher crime rates often correlate with groups of individuals who self-identify as racial identity minorities or whatever. So it's naturally going to be the case that the cops it's going to appear to be racist. It's like the further the demographic is from the individual arresting them, not the more likely they are to be targeted necessarily, but the less likely they are to be let go. So if I'm a cop who has my kid in the suburban high school in Arcadia, and I roll up on a couple of Arcadia high school kids who are smoking meth in the park, I'm that cop. I'm going to break that meth pipe, pour out all their meth, maybe even take them to their house and tell their parents and stuff. And if it's somebody who I don't identify with at all, I'm going to enforce the law that's supposed to be enforced. Does that make me a racist cop? It makes me a bad person in the sense that I'm not doing the moral reasoning I need to do about what the implications of how I do my job are. If they're probably not explicitly racist, it's just a fundamental like I don't see anybody I know in you, so I'm not gonna let you go, even though I arrested this other guy for the same exact, even though I let this other guy go for the same exact thing. If in fact there's nobody calling it in saying I've been victimized by Mia and there's been a crime committed against me or property, then there's no consequences if the cops let him go, right? Anytime you have discretionary law enforcement like that, it creates corrupt realities. It doesn't really matter what group or whatever. The point is, it's the discretionary aspect of the law that makes it fundamentally flawed. So, okay, well, look, Scott Steiner, as I've explained, my plan is to go in there and do some work with case law. Let's say I, as president, decide to take the traditional dumb approach and claim as much executive order power as I can and unilaterally disband those things. The next president unilaterally puts them back in. Why not? After all, we just go from dictator to dictator, unilaterally making massive changes at the snap of a finger and the stroke of a pen with his executive orders. So instead, I'm going to be a real patriot. I'm going to operate as a lawful president would. I'm going to go through the courts. I would love to see the DEA eliminated by the courts. Okay, well, the president can actually disband the FBI. Okay, well, I don't have any interest in disbanding the FBI. Sorry. I know the FBI has made mistakes and stuff. They're not perfect. They have a rather shady beginning for sure. But I am not interested in disbanding the FBI. You say just have federal marshals? Okay, actually, Scott Steiner, I hadn't thought about that. This is a new idea to me. Replace the FBI with all federal marshals. I've never heard this advocacy before. Scott Steiner, this is a rare occasion. You have suggested to me a new advocacy that I've never heard before, and so I don't have an answer for you on it exactly. I need to look into it a little bit, but I kind of like the idea. Okay, just my initial response to it is, oh, I kind of like that idea. And it sounds like you've done the TI legal work stuff. It sounds a little divisive or provocative an action to take early in the presidency, but I've already said I'm only doing one term. So late in the presidency, I'm not going to care about provoking if it's the right thing to do for sure. But again, I'm also not interested in pushing any agenda, and I don't see any reason. I have to be convinced first that there's a reason to get rid of the FBI. I don't see them currently as a big problem. Okay, so it's like Winston's mom will be definitely somebody I consult a lot about things. She has experience in the military. She sees the government like I do, which is something that you actually you just don't make big, like, broad gestures at. I guess that there's actual work to be done. So I imagine myself consulting her quite a bit. And now, don't note though, Winston's mom has zero power with her consultation to convince me of something when she's wrong, as per the COVID thing. So look, this is excellent, an excellent example of why you should vote for me, because I'm talking about what a great advisor Winston's mom will be. And I can also point to an example where she came in very strongly meow, and I said that you are completely wrong, and I have hence been proved right and continue to be proved right. But regardless, the point is I'm not susceptible to being influenced towards the wrong thing by even my most trusted advisors. And at the same time, I'm not stubborn about my own position. So I'm interested in being corrected. And that's unusual. Who's calling me? Let's see. Oh, they hung up. I mean, look, Winston's mom, the problem is this. I just read an article where they said about how these two new strains, no, it wasn't. These two new strains may sort of invalidate the vaccine. And, so initial enthusiasm is turning into, okay, we better get realistic here. And what's the conclusion? Get ready for more extended lockdowns and shutdowns and blah, 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 blah. And at no point has there been an actual conversation between real adults about the policy considerations that matter. Opportunity costs and or trade-offs. Like, when was it just generally decided that, for example, the right to free assembly and the free exercise of religion in a group or something, or the right to assemble to watch a football game or something, is contingent on there not being a virus? That we could have a contagious disease that puts those rights on hold for years until it's resolved. Have we ever decided anything like what would have to be the level of damage that we'd incur by not doing those lockdowns to justify putting those rights on hold, presumably, for years? Okay, but those are Scott Steiner, those are incorporated rights. That applies to the states and the local governments as well. So that is not just a prohibition on federal legislation regarding quarantine shit. That right's incorporated, which means it applies to every state and local government as well. There are two kinds of rights in the Bill of Rights: incorporated and unincorporated. Unincorporated ones only apply to the federal government. Incorporated ones apply to all levels of sovereignty. Okay, so you've got some support from Horse Bumbler here, Scott Steiner, regarding the Marshall's Feds idea. Well, I did just finish conceding for Omaha that this is the first time I'd heard about this notion of replacing the FBI with the Marshals. So I didn't know that was even an advocacy. So you're right in that regard. I knew nothing of that specific advocacy. And I was quite surprised because I rarely hear somebody say, meow, 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 and me go, wait, I haven't heard that before. Is that true? So congratulations to Scott Steiner. You don't have to be nice. I don't care. I'm not mad at all, or I mostly feel I'll just leave it. I just shut up. I don't know. There's no reason federal level financial crimes can't be handled by the marshals. Well, I mean, the thing is, yeah, maybe Sky Gear, but I didn't want it to be perceived as an FE attack or something. I didn't know how to manage it, so No, sad is more like it. Um, um, in other words, I don't know how to approach this whole thing in a way that's platinum rather than golden rule. So I'm just gonna yeah, I'm just gonna yeah. Um, so okay, well, this is the thing, Scott Steiner. I'm very interested in hearing good ideas that I've never heard of before, and I will look into that. And if I haven't really evaluated the FBI before, I've not really gone in and questioned their legitimacy or seen if they're doing a good job or not. That will be under the purview of my job as president, so I will look into it a bit. I don't have much of an opinion about it now, but you've made sufficient case to justify my research in it for sure. So thank you for that. I'm gonna wrap this up. It has nothing to do with the fact that Paul Mulhat just got here. It's 2 hours. I'm tired. We were working on this project with Cameron earlier this evening, and so and I did have a nap today, but I'm ready to wind down. I think I'm feeling both good and steady, and um, kind of excited, kind of happy, I guess. I see things moving, feel good about it. But also, I guess, not really a lot of any negatives to go with it. I feel happy right now in general. It's really hard for me to, right, it's like, I guess what I was doing right there was trying to FI. And I don't really, I get really slow when I try to FI. Like, I can't, I stop talking. I don't think, can you FI while talking? INFPs must be able to do that. Well, this is what I was going to say, Scott Steiner, is put the NSA under the CIA. Then then we can talk about maybe putting the CIA under the DoD, but that's too ambitious. I'm thinking, let's get the NSA under control first. Why are NSA and CIA separate entities? One should subsume the other. No, NSA is international. It may include domestic, but it also includes international. Defund utilities. I want to defund power utilities, water utilities. I want to defund. No, we'll keep funding for the police. I want to defund firemen, defund water districts across the country. I want to stop spending money on infrastructure. Um, I'd like to defund electricity generation and desalination, but I want to keep paying for all the stupid shit. All right, just kidding. Just kidding. All right, see you guys later. I want to defund security for nuclear silos. but really ramp up our school lunch programs. Okay, well, look. Every law enforcement agency in history has its instances of corruption, abuse, um, over enthusiasm, and its pass on using force. Being a law enforcement organization of some sort means you get some sort of a pass on the rule against using force, and that invariably produces some kind of excesses in that area, some instances of it, and it's our job to keep that shit under reins as best we can. And in fact, you see how the current freak out over police violence is very effective. Police seem to be much less interested in pulling people over random shit, messing with people. They're much more acting like cops should. Somebody calls them, a crime's been committed, they show up. That's how cops are supposed to be. They're supposed to be reactive, not proactive. Anyway, good night, I love you, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese indeed. Oh yeah.